TheAnswer.com.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Daddy, what do taxes pay for?
Oh, why, everything. Policemen, trees, sunshine.
On AM 560.
And let's not forget the folks who just don't feel like working, God bless them.
The Answer.
Dan and Amy, hey, Mayor Pete, the star's coming off, or the luster's coming off his star a little bit.
What happened?
Mayor Pete Buttigieg a little bit. You know, some of the...
I've finally figured out how to pronounce his name, and now he's...
Well, he's not over yet, but the
there.
commentary, the leftist commentary is getting a little tired of his just, room temperature demeanor as the qualification for the mayor of a town of 100,000 people to be president of the United States. But he did have a series of fundraisers out in Silicon Valley. And, this is he's reasonable.
Right, that's what I read. He's got a nice temperament.
Nice demeanor, nice temperament. He's not,
He's not bombastic. He's just,
Sure.
cool as a cucumber. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
And he's young. He's got something that the other candidates don't, and that's youth.
Yeah.
He's not even 40 yet.
And one of the hosts of one of his fundraisers, film director, it's a generous description, Sam Griesman. You know who he is?
No, I don't.
You know who his mom is? It's Mother's Day Sunday.
I don't know.
Sally Field.
Oh, yeah, so he's got a little in there in Hollywood.
Yeah. He,
Name recognition. Yes.
one of the hosts of one of the fundraisers Buttigieg had in California this week, Sam Griesman tweeting out, "Every single person associated with or supporting Trump is a low-life piece of shh on an epic scale." Well, golly,
Wait, he didn't get yanked off of Twitter for that?
Please, be serious. Of course not. But that doesn't sound like, that's not sort of in keeping with Buttigieg. He's Mr. Reasonable Guy. He's Mr. I talk about my faith. He's Mr. I'm willing to have a conversation about God anytime President Trump wants to. Well, he can come on this show and have a conversation about God.
Do you want? I can get him on. He used to be an intern at Channel 5 in Chicago. I'll effort him.
He may be again before it's all over.
Stop.
Bernie Sanders, just going through.
Yeah.
Deep Thoughts with Bolshevik Bernie. Yeah. Unearthed Memos. Part of a library of mayoral documents kept at the University of Vermont. Oh, must be in high demand. He writes bluntly about his relationship troubles, existential angst, and despair of making a meaningful difference in his town. Well, this is when he was mayor of Burlington in the 1980s. His first job, by the way.
Right, when he was 40, right?
Yeah, tender age.
What did he do up until that time? The community activist?
I think he was living off the maple syrup there. I'm unable to look in the mirror and see how I am. He wrote in 1985 when he was about 85 years old at the time.
40, yeah.
I'm unable to look in the mirror and see how I am.
Right,
How am I?
So sappy.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know who I,
This is
in quotation
uncomfortable.
marks, am. For years now, I've not lived a normal emotional life.
Oh, gosh.
My relationship to Jay remains unclear.
How can you make it stop?
We pass time together, but the relationship doesn't grow.
Jay is his wife or Jesus?
What do you think? His wife's name is Jane. What do you
I think it's Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For years now, again, I've not lived an emotional life. My relationship to Jay remains unclear. We pass time together, but the relationship doesn't grow, mature, or deepen.
Sounds like a midlife crisis
I
at the
think-
age of 40.
I think she may ultimately be put in charge of a college that she destroys.
Oh, I'm sure that was in the letter. Right?
Be worried.
Was that the P.S.?
Psychologically, what's going on?
Oh, gosh. Is this his diary entry?
Memos.
And his Hello Kitty binder that he wrote?
Top of his problems, I'm not maintaining my house well. Well, you are getting up in years. You should have been put in a home then. I'm not traveling. Life goes by so fast. The last 5 years, vicissitude of the last 5 years.
Is that a word with Proft?
It is a word. I don't think it's used appropriately
I
here.
don't think so either.
Plus, my normal insanity placed me in an uncomfortable position. Well, at least he admits he has
He
a
sounds
problem.
like a hot mess. Okay, go on though. Now I'm interested.
What's hard to see through is the almost total degree of powerlessness which presently exists. We can make almost nothing happen. Maintaining a radical vision is extremely difficult when one is confronted in every corner with the suffocating force of the status quo. All he wanted is reasonably priced puppet shows. Is that so much to ask, Burlington? It seemed to me this morning that planning and decision making were two of the biggest weaknesses that I have. This is great.
That's great. That's great.
Put that on your television commercials.
Yeah, please.
Not only do I not pay bills every month, every month? I'm unable to plan vacations or intelligent leisure time activity. It would be fun going whitewater rafting or sailing down a main river on a sailing trip or traveling. Actually, I'm better now than I used to be, but pretty poor. Holy cow. This is not like a teenager scrawling in his Trapper Keeper. This is a 40-plus-year-old man.
It sounds like a senior in high school. I'm not kidding you.
He went to the Soviet Union to find himself. Holy cow, these are fun. Holy cow, President Trump must be encouraged about his prospects in 2020. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Julie Kelly. She's a senior contributor for American Greatness, amgreatness.com. And she's written a new piece about 2020 and that vaunted blue wall the Democrats put up in the Midwest that came tumbling down in 2016 and that they're trying to erect. That's a wall they actually do want to build in 2020. Julie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, guys. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I know that you're a woman of letters. I assume you've read the great existentialists, Sartre and Camus and others. How do you rank Bernie Sanders' musings among the pantheon of the great existential writers of the last 200 years?
I'm just kind of taking it all in. It's so deep. And meaningful.
Truly.
I don't want to miss a word.
Oh, it sounds like Teen Beat magazine, doesn't it?
I wrote in my piece that I just tweeted out what we're going to talk about. Watching this collection of Democratic presidential candidates, it's like the 21st century version of college sophomores, like stuffed into a phone booth, making a collect call to 1960. I mean, they're not serious people. They have whoever has a long track record. There's no way cut out. You wouldn't hire them as a mid-level manager, let alone elect them president. So I think that, the wise people in the Midwest probably are already seeing this and looking at their options.
Do you think there's
for
any
2020?
Right. There's any Democratic challenger, though, that could take away the Trump Democrats? Because a lot of Democrats who sat on their hands and didn't vote for years came out to vote for Trump.
That's right. And, obviously we had states like Wisconsin and Michigan who flipped for Donald Trump. I mean, the last time the last time the state of Wisconsin elected a Republican president was 1984. I mean, what Trump pulled off in the Midwest and Pennsylvania was pretty stunning. His popularity is stronger now in the Midwest than it was in 2016. He's been openly solicitous of the Midwestern voters. He's come to the Midwest 24 times since Election Day, holding, all of these rallies, including in Green Bay last month. So I don't know. I think that they think that Joe Biden could take votes away from Trump, but I don't see that happening. What is Joe Biden going to tell Midwestern voters? How is he going to convince them in this economy with all the opportunities that they haven't seen in years? How could someone like Joe Biden even convince them to put Democrats in power?
So give us your assessment then of them reconstituting at least a portion of the blue wall in the Midwest. They've essentially, at least Priorities USA, the big left super PAC, has essentially conceded Ohio. Like, unless something changes on the ground in Ohio, we're not even going to play there, which is a remarkable turn of events given Ohio's importance in the last several cycles. The last, I don't know, half a dozen presidential cycles at least. But Wisconsin and Michigan, it seems to me, is where Democrats really think they can reconstitute a portion of the wall, big enough at least to put a Democrat in the White House.
That's right. So Priorities USA is the big super PAC. It's run by Clinton and Obama loyalists. And they've announced the first phase of their $100 million investment. And they're targeting 4 states: Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Florida. Now, that should alarm every Democrat because, as you just said, Dan, these are states that have been, no-brainers for Democrats, not Florida, but Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, for, 3 decades. So to have a PAC starting to spend money already 18 months away from Election Day 2020 in those states really says a lot. There is a line of thinking among Democrats that they should just concede the Midwest, that they don't have any hope of getting those voters back. And so they're looking at their alternatives, which would include Colorado, North Carolina, Georgia. If they can take those states, they can compensate for losing Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. But then they'd still have to pull off a Florida or a Texas to put the candidate over the finish line.
Now, do you think with the recent tariffs, it went up overnight while people were sleeping from 10 to 25%, and it's hitting farmers particularly hard in the Midwest here. Do you think that they'll flip on Trump or they'll stick with him?
I do say in my piece, Amy, I think that that's exactly right. I think an escalated trade war with China definitely will continue to hurt, especially soybean farmers in the Midwest. So that is a risk. Although the farmers who I talked to when this first started, a lot of them said, look, China's been screwing around with us for years, and no one has said anything. So they view it, and I listened to Stephen Moore on your show yesterday, and he's saying, look, this can't be a short-term approach. This has to be a long-term approach. China is an economic and security threat to the United States, and we've kind of ignored that. And so, but I do think, farmers are struggling right now. They have been, and so this certainly won't make their lives any easier.
But politically, for Trump, and I completely disagree with the economic approach. Totally opposed to tariffs. But politically, though, it might make some sense for Trump. He talked about it at his press availability yesterday. The Lordstown, Ohio, which they've been holding over his neck, the shuttered GM factory there that is now being turned into a facility to produce electric trucks. And so there are winners and losers in the trade war, and a lot of the winners are in the Midwest, not the farmers, but there are other portions of the workforce that are benefiting from the protectionist policies. He may be able to afford to shed some farmers in Iowa and still win Iowa, which the Dems maybe don't think they can get, and buoy his chances that much more in Michigan and Wisconsin.
That's exactly right. And in my piece, I linked to a really interesting study out of Cleveland that looked at the top 10 markets for non-college graduates, job opportunities. 5 of those 10 metropolitan areas are in the Midwest. The construction industry is booming. There's jobs that have not been available here in the Midwest, as I said, for decades. And the data is really, bringing that out, that is actually true. It's not just a sense that the job opportunities are better here in the Midwest and really across the country, as we know, looking at overall numbers, but especially here in the Midwest. So what does a Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders come to the Midwest and say? I'm going to roll back the tariffs, but when people view China as such a threat, then they're going to say, okay, well, you could roll back the tariffs to help, to kind of appease the soybean farmers. But after that, how are you going to deal with China? They know that China is a threat. So I don't know. Here's the thing with the Democrats, aside from just their terrible socialist agenda right now, what legitimate alternatives do they have to offer to Trumpism? I don't know what it is.
Well, maybe it's this. Hillary Clinton at Dartmouth. Boy. Hillary Clinton in New Hampshire talking about how early it is in the process and
don't tell me.
Can't rule anything out. And
no, really?
Did she? No.
We're just. It seems like it's been going on longer than it has. We're just in the process of setting the table, figuring out what's going to happen, who's going to emerge, what's going to be the most effective themes and messages. It's fresh off her wildly successful An Evening with the Clintons tour.
Oh, that prices went from $500, Julie, to they were giving tickets away in Seattle for $20.
It's not.
Have lost their star has fallen.
I heard it had a more successful run than Cats. That's what I heard from the Clintons mainly. But how about? Please tell me that Hillary Clinton won't go away, Julie. Please tell me she'll be with us.
Oh, please! I hope she sticks around. Come on, it's so great to watch her in so much pain still from 2016. I hope that she jumps in. But and then you look at what's happening on Capitol Hill with the Democrats. They're completely unhinged, and I don't even know how. Talking about the presidential race is one thing. How are they going to keep the 30 plus seats that some of them stole, but that they won in 2018? A lot of those seats, I think 8 or 9 of them are in the Midwest. So I think Republicans only need to get 17 or 18 seats back to get control of the House, and if they get those seats back in Iowa, in Minnesota, in Pennsylvania, they come that much closer to regaining control of the House again.
So that means we need to keep the microphones permanently affixed in front of AOC and Ilhan Omar and Jerry Nadler and Adam Schiff,
yes.
all of them, right?
Yes, for sure. Because, I mean, again, what are these Congress persons, as AOC says, what are they going to go into Iowa and Minnesota to try to hold those seats? Let us keep power so we can keep trying to impeach Trump after he wins re-election. I mean, there's no message there.
The four meta messages, according to Nate Silver at 538, for Democrats. I want to move the country to the left, and I have a lot of ideas how to do it. That's the liberal policy wonk message. Coalition builder. I can unite the different factions of the Democrat Party and reflect the diversity of our voters. The outsider. I may not be the traditional candidate, but I have a different perspective, some fresh ideas how to shake it up. And then the electability. I have the track record now to get stuff done. I can beat Trump. So 4 is Biden, electability. 3, the outsider, is basically Mayor Pete. 2, the coalition builder, I guess would be someone like a Kamala. I don't know. And the liberal policy wonk would be Chief Warren. How any of those names work with that angle of incidence as it pertains to the electorate?
I mean, I really think that someone like Kamala Harris is going to emerge as a stronger candidate than she looks right now.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly do. I think, she's appealing. I think that she obviously has a very strong personality. I think that people overlook any of her crazy policy ideas just because she's an appealing candidate. So I think that she's going to emerge a lot stronger than she looks right now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, Elizabeth Warren, I think, is done.
Yeah.
Beto, we forgot about him. It looks like the press has turned against him, and he needs to go back to Texas and find his meds and maybe find a job since he doesn't have one.
Oh, that's right.
So
maybe Bernie and Beto could form some sort of support group where they find themselves.
Or do a variety show on Saturday nights.
It could be
Bernie
good,
and
too.
Beto. Oh.
Yeah, compete with
Mutton
Sabado
chef.
Gigante. Yeah, exactly. Julie Kelly, senior contributor for American Greatness, amgreatness.com. Her latest piece, The Midwest Broken Blue Wall. Check it out. Julie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
You too.
And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.